Don't feel like reading the book? You don't have to. Just watch the movie. Video games too hard for you? Just watch the show. With so many great stories being told in different mediums, adaptations are inevitable. Adaptations of stories have been around for quite a while, existing to find new audiences and expand their universes. Some are faithful to the original work, while others miss the mark entirely. A bad adaptation can be detrimental to the understanding and analysis of the original story for general audiences who are unfamiliar with the original source material. Mary Shelley's original Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, was adapted from its original novel form into a play in 1927, and that stage adaptation was missing all the nuances of the original story. The original story is framed around journal entries of the ship captain who meets Dr. Frankenstein and recounts all the experience he's had following this monster he created around the world to capture him. It's beautiful and deals with the implication of being born against your will into a cruel and unjust world that despises you. The creature, the monster, ultimately grows into a character you feel sympathetic toward. It's a very tragic story. But today, that is not the story we think of when we think of Frankenstein. We think of a zombie-like story with this dumb monster who kills and destroys simply because he's a monster. There's no depth. That blunder of an adaptation has continued to cause dissonance between the original source material and general audiences. Video games have long suffered subpar adaptations in movies and TV shows. Video games are a very interactive medium. You, the audience, control characters or elements in the game in order to further the story. You have to do in order to continue. And this creates a very engaging form of storytelling. Television movies, however, are very passive mediums. You watch and the story just unfolds in front of you. This is where a lot of video game adaptations seem to have the most trouble translating gameplay elements into plot points for the story's sake of the adaptation of the movie or TV show. I'm sure most of y'all are aware that The Last of Us is airing on HBO and it's absolutely breathtaking. Neil Druckmann was the creative director for the titular game and is one of the principal writers and occasional director for the television series. However, The Last of Us is already a very cinematic video game. It already lends itself to be an easier IP to adapt into something like a television series or a movie. But what about other games where gameplay aspects are integral to the execution of the story? Nier Automata version 1.1a is an anime series adapting the video game Nier Automata. Nier Automata is an amazing game about a war between machines and androids and takes place in a post-apocalyptic Earth filled with cities overrun with nature. It is beautiful. Thematically, it's a story about betrayal, perseverance, ignorance, and humanity. Nier is a hack and slash with very detailed RPG elements, and the main game requires you to play through it 3 times in order to get the full story. There are also multiple endings, 26 of them to be exact, one for each letter of the alphabet. And I know what y'all are thinking, how could they possibly adapt this into a television series and anime? Well, good adaptations don't have to translate all the gameplay elements into a story. These are great, faithful adaptations that make the diehard fans happy and are more accessible for new fans that want to experience the story for the first time. The first episode of The Last of Us features a sequence that is a one-to-one recreation from the game, and the Nier Automata anime features the original sound effects and music and even a menu from the game. In the Nier video game, a machine's eyes will glow red with this lens flare and sound effect to indicate they're about to attack you. And they do the same thing in the anime. It's beautiful. It's not only the level of detail but care that make these adaptations great, but the reason they're great adaptations aren't because of the little Easter eggs or the way they're translating some of the gameplay elements into story beats. It's because these adaptations remain faithful to the essence of their respective games. You wouldn't expect a Mario movie to be a gritty thriller just like you wouldn't expect The Last of Us to be a sitcom. These are not made as cash grabs. They're made because of a love and understanding of the source material and wanting to share that experience with wider audiences in a more accessible medium. Not everyone has the necessary motor skills or can grasp the technicalities of video games. The Last of Us ultimately is a story about learning to care again, learning to love after heartbreak and be vulnerable in a very, very dangerous world. Nier Automata tells the ultimate humanist fable. Highly recommend that video essay by Michael Sapa. It's wonderful. It's about the dangers of extremism and betrayal and dedicating your entire existence to a cause that's ultimately wrong. I think of my parents as the perfect audience for these kind of adaptations. My mom and dad can do the original Super Mario Bros. And Pac-Man, and with enough practice and patience, they can get through a couple of Mario Party minigames. But to think of my mom learning the pretty detailed RPG aspects of Nier Automata is akin to teaching a 7-year-old calculus. And that's my spiel. I genuinely hope y'all enjoyed. I appreciate the time and attention you've given to me. Thank you. Goodbye.